Good evening, wherever you are. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Good evening. Welcome to the show. My name is Nyokabi GK Kamau, and I am your relationship coach. And I talk about matters, relationships, authentic conversations, and building healthy, meaningful relationships. And tonight we have an amazing topic. We have an amazing topic lined up for you, just talking about broken ties. Today we're talking about broken ties, and this particular conversation was inspired by a very sad story that happened this week, beginning of this week and a little bit of last week, of a lady who was stabbed by her husband, somebody who they had separated, and then they got back together in secret. They got married behind the family, and they still continued in that toxic relationship, and the result was one ending up in prison and another 6 feet under. It was also inspired by a story I watched on Facebook of a clip of these two couples who are fighting, and the girl threw the gentleman in the pool, and the gentleman threw the girl in the pool, and it was all chaotic. It was crazy. Given that everything that's going through, that we are going through as a nation, heartbreak has been the most profound thing. I think we have an epidemic of heartbreaks because heartbreaks uh, is actually the one thing that is closely related to the loss of a loved one. It can actually, the pain that comes from a heartbreak can easily be compared to the loss of a loved one. So this feeling, this emotion of heartbreak is very intense, and we have ignored it for the longest time. And tonight we are going to talk about it. We are going to cover the reasons why heartbreaks happen. We are going to cover some of the major common things that lead to breakups in relationships, both romantic relationships, family ties get broken, employment ties get broken, partners in business separate quite easily, and we want to find out what are the reasons that these things are happening and what can we do about it. How can we handle our pain and our emotions better? How can we deal with the heartbreak without resulting to killing, to sending overly emotional messages to our friends, severing that relationship to never recover because of the text that we send out to our loved ones. So without any further ado, let me know where you're watching me from. Hit me in the comment section and say hi. Let me know where you're watching me from, and especially what you are learning as an individual, and what is the light bulb moment for you. So let me know in the comment section. So without any other further ado, I just want to introduce the topic and talk about what we are covering. And as I highlight some of these things in the bottom of this conversation, if you're watching from your phone, then what I'm saying is transcribed on top of the topics that I have highlighted. So if you don't want to experience that, maybe you can watch it from your laptop or even from your TV, and it will help you get rid of the transcriptions that come from Facebook. So let me continue. So tonight we'll be answering the question, why broken ties, instead of working things out. Like I said at the beginning of this show, this conversation has been inspired by the Olympic runner who lost her life to domestic violence. And it was so saddening. And it's not just one, it is just two. Within a span of a day or two, we had lost two amazing ladies to domestic violence. And the question we are asking ourselves tonight, why the broken ties instead of working out those relationships? Are there relationships that deserve to be severed completely and you shouldn't talk to this person? Are there relationships that stand a chance of recovery, relationships that stand a chance of reconciliation? Are there relationships that deserve that particular chance? So this is a conversation we will be covering tonight. But the most important thing for us to understand is, do you understand what drove you apart in the first place? When we talk about relationships, most people want to run to the romantic relationships. And it is true, this is the major relationship. I mean, it is the mother of all relationships, romantic relationships. It's from romantic relationships that we are born and brought to this world. It is from romantic relationships that everything happens. Even the stability of a nation relies solely on a romantic relationship. So, do we understand why the separation occur? Do we understand why the breakups occur? So, I just want to talk about some of the major reasons why breakups happen, some of the most common ones that happen that lead to these breakups. And as we get to those breakups, I want us to keep this in mind. And in the comment section, I want you to tell me, are you in control of your emotions? Are you in control of your emotions? Do you feel like you have control of what you're feeling within yourself? It is healthy and normal and okay to feel in control of your emotion. The idea here is to come to terms with the concept that you don't feel in control of those emotions. So let me know in the comment sections, do you feel like you are in control of your emotions as we continue with this conversation? So I want to talk about the reasons why relationships break, the reasons why bond relationships that are bound by covenant breaks, relationships that are bound by contracts like employment break, relationship between business partners break, relationship between family members, even blood relationships break. So we want to talk about some of these very common ones, but we'll start with romantic relationships. Like I said, this conversation was inspired by our two runners who lost their lives to domestic violence. So the first thing that I want to talk about is boredom and staleness in a relationship. Nobody wants to be in a relationship that is bored. I mean, you meet this person, you talk about the same things, you fight about the same things, you're always in this roller coaster, the same thing. And especially people who are married, you have sex on Tuesday at 8 a.m. when the children go to sleep and the house girl is in the kitchen washing the utensils. I mean, hey, clockwork. Yani everything is just clockwork between you as a couple. Boring relationships result to breakups and broken ties. And also guys who are dating. And the most amazing thing about when a relationship becomes boring is that none of the parties is willing to do anything about it. Nobody wants to suggest something exciting to revive the spark in the relationship because you become too familiar with each other. So one of the major reasons that relationships break is that aspect of boredom, stillness. The relationship just feels you know that girlfriend of yours that you used to spend all the time together, used to go for hikes together, used to go to church together, used to do everything together. You even have t-shirts that are written, she's my best friend, pointing the other, and she's my best friend. And now you hardly ever see each other. You guys got bored. Oh, yeah. You got bored of each other. You got bored of doing the same things, and none of you initiated something different. I want to move on to the next point because I have so much tonight and I want to move quickly. But let me know in the comment section if I move too fast on a particular topic, and I'll come back and address it again. So remember to say hi to me in the comment section. Let me know where you're watching me from and what you're learning. So the other thing that we are going to talk about that leads or causes relationships to break is jealousy, over controlling, and insecurities. Oh my God. This emotion called jealousy, this monster called jealousy. Uko wapi? Uko na nani? Unafanya? Mbona kuniambia it's 6 a.m. It's 6 p.m. and you're not home yet. So where are you? I thought you told me you're going home. Why did you go out? With who? And what I mean, dude, that's why she left you. Nobody wants to experience jealousy. There's good jealousy. There's that jealousy of you like your partner, you love your partner, you like to be with them, you don't want somebody else hanging around them. There's positive jealousy and there's negative jealousy. You know the excess jealousy that you're going through your partner's phone. You're asking them, "Ebu weka password, mpaka unawekanga kidole." You're the one who puts the finger to open. Take a chill pill. Take a chill pill. Nobody wants to experience that level of jealousy. Over controlling. And I want to talk about this particular over controlling because this aspect of controlling has really been taken out of context in some cases, but in some cases it's true. And I want you to, if you're feeling like your relationship or your partner is over controlling to you, if you hear some things that resonate with you and you can give it a 10, between 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, then you need to be concerned about that level of controlling. What do I mean when I say over controlling? What I mean is that this person wants to take control of your finances. They want to ask you how much money you earn, and you've just been dating for a small period of time, or even you've been married for 3 years, and this person wants control over your finances. They don't want you to have financial freedom. So they want joint accounts where they manage the finances and you don't have control of finances. And when I say this, a lot of men, when I'm doing the Ephesians 5-month training, men always ask me, but why should women have control over money? What does she need money for? I provide everything for her. Why do you need money? That's the question I always ask them. Why do you need to control the finances? Because finances come with power. they come with independency. So if your partner is constantly choking you financially, then they are over controlling. Another area that you can experience over control is a partner who wants to limit your time. They want to know where you're going, who you're going with, what time you're coming, why you took so long. You said you'd be at a particular place. In fact, they want your location to always be turned so that they can pin you and know where you are. There's one thing to be concerned about your partner and to want to know where they are and how they are doing out of love and out of kindness. And it's another to entirely imprison somebody that they can't do something outside of being where you said they would be. So you need to be very careful because there's a very thin line. A concerned person who just want to know where you are, they can call you and say, "Hey, babe, are you okay where you are?" "Yes, I am." You're safe with the people who you're with?" "Yes, I am." And they let it at that. They don't want details. They don't want to call you on video call and see if it's true you're that particular club you said you are. You're with that particular. In Baka, they even ask you, "Can I speak to your sister, my brother?" That's over controlling. That's too much. That's you're choking the partner and the person you're with, and it will result to a breakup. The other thing we are talking about is insecurity. And most people think that women are the ones who are most insecure in relationships. Not true. Men are the most insecure people in relationships, and not just insecure about our physique, because relationship plays a very key role in how we feel about ourselves physically. Did you know that the person you're dating can actually affect how you feel about yourself? And I know they say that self-esteem has everything to do with self. What's it got to do with me? It's got to do everything with you. Everything you say, everything you do, everything you highlight can illustrate insecurity. And these things go hand in hand together. Jealousy, over control, and insecurities are emotions that don't separate. They are credit and SIM card, they go together. Probably you're feeling jealous because you love your partner, or sometimes you're feeling jealous because you don't want them to have a life outside of you, which is an unfair thing because if you think about it, because they should have life outside of you if you want to have a meaningful, healthy relationships together. Again, I invite you in the comment section to let me know what you're learning and where you're watching me from. The other thing that results to broken ties and broken relationships is overly needy and clingy people. By the way, at the beginning of this conversation, I said that this is not entirely focused on romantic relationships. All these things that I'm highlighting apply to all kinds of relationships, job related, partnerships, parent to child, especially this one, overly needy and clingy. People think that it's only people who are in romantic relationships that experience this emotion. No, there are parents who are overly needy and they are overly clingy. This is the parent who will call you for 3 to 4 hours. They want to talk to you for a whole hour. Yani, you can't work, you can't move from point A to point B, you can't have a conversation with anybody else, you can't finish the cup of tea because your mother is on the phone talking to you for an hour. For an hour. Jesus Christ, 60 minutes. What are you saying to somebody for 60 minutes? This person is overly clingy, they are overly needy, they are constantly saying, "Oh, you're my daughter, oh, you're my son, I gave birth to you, you should be here with me, why aren't you responding?" Yeah, 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 yeah. My friend, that will lead to broken ties. If you're a parent and you're watching this show and you're wondering, "Why don't my children come to home?" Please check this emotion. Sit down and be true to yourself and ask yourself, how often do I call my son? How often do I call my daughter? When I call them, how much do I keep them on the phone? When we talk about overly needy, there's always that cow that has died. There's always that father who has a fundraiser and the children have to come in and contribute. There's always that need that needs to be satisfied. Needs can be financial, can be emotional, can be spiritual, all level of needs. If they are overly, if they are too much, then they are a turn off the person who you're with. It is very important to be careful with these two emotions because they can lead to broken relationship. If you have a wife who is overly needy, and this overly needy wife is the one who becomes nagging because they constantly need your attention. "Oh, Menda Kawa, 3 hours. Oh, you are working the whole week. Oh, I have not even seen you. Oh, the children are even missing you." And some even go to the extent of using the children to manipulate you to come home because they feel their life is around you. If you're not there, they'll not breathe, or they'll die, they're suffocating. My friend, get something to do with yourself. What are we saying? That we need to keep these emotions in check. Overly needy people are a turn off, from parents to grandparents to uncles to aunties to sisters to cousins to employers to business partners. You know, this business partner who always call you in the middle of the night ndio anataka mudiscuss ile proposal yenye mnaenda kudeliver kesho. Why in the middle of the night? We have like 8 hours from 8 to 6 to call me. We sit down, we discuss. You know, these people who you go to a meeting with and you sit there, they keep coming up with stories, yani they have held you at ransom. They don't want to release you. You keep saying, oh, I need to do something else. No, just have a cup of tea. Let's have one more cup. Or this buddy of yours that constantly, ukisema tunaenda home, another round of drinks. Ukisema, oh, that's my jam. Yani, these people, they don't want to separate. They want to remain in that overly needy and clingy people. You will always end up in broken relationships. And I've said need can be financial, can be emotional, can be spiritual. Needy can go across those sides. Yani, you're that person when I see your number, I know you're asking me for money. You're that person when I see your phone call, I know you have a debt somewhere. You have an emergency of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Yani, you're just needy, consistent. You will never handle your own needs. These are things that lead to broken relationships. And so we want to address the causes of broken relationships, and then we can see how to go about being broken. Number 3 is the different types of abuse. Now, when we talk about the different types of abuse, people are conversant with physical abuse. Like the inspiration of this conversation is a result of gender-based violence. It can either be coming from the female or from the male, and gender-based violence goes across both genders. It's not only women who are genderly abused relationships, and it's not only men who abuse women. Women equally abuse men. Women equally physically assault men. So gender-based violence cuts across both genders. It's very important that we create this awareness. It's very important that we put it out there. I have been at a police station and a gentleman came to report that the wife has assaulted them. He even had a black eye and all, and you could see makucha and the policemen were just laughing this guy. And I was so concerned by I started dealing with this case because I felt this gentleman has a lot of courage and a lot of boldness to actually go to a police station to report that he's being abused by his wife. And oh, unachapwa na wewe ni mwanaume, my friend. Hata sisi tunachapangwa na sisi ni wanawake. Gender-based violence cuts across both genders, and let's create that awareness. So the different types of abuse, there's financial abuse. Financial abuse, it is true, 99% it affects women. It majorly goes to women, where your husbands want to control, or your partner, not basically only husbands, even partners in business. Parents also want to control your finances. They want to give you pesa kidogo tu to help you get by, but they don't want you to have more than that. If they hear you're saving, una save the nini? What do you need money for? Why are you looking for money? You know, some of those challenges come from this lead to breakups. Now, the other type of abuse is the physical abuse, which is very obvious because it's visible and you can see it. The emotional abuse, somebody constantly telling you shit that you don't want to hear. I'm sorry about that. Oh my God, I'm cussing. Anyway, somebody constantly telling you stuff, oh, you're like this, oh, you're like that, oh, you're fat, oh, you're skinny, oh, you're light, oh, you're dark, oh, you're too tall, oh, you're too short, or they call you names you can't pronounce, names you can't remember, names. I have had somebody calling somebody a black ape. I've had somebody calling, I don't even want to go there, dogs and all kinds of animals. Somebody just calls you names and you're thinking, wow. And sometimes emotional abuse is the way somebody makes you feel. That is why it is called an emotional abuse. This person makes you feel some type of way. Yani unajitafuta, unajikosa, unashindwa who gave birth to me. You know, this person tells you something. They may not call you a name, but they tell you something. Yani, it leaves us. Emotional abuse is the most dangerous abuse of them all. There is the verbal abuse, different types of abuse that lead to breakup and broken ties. Somebody ukichukua simu yake hivi, They are not calling you names, they are calling another person. Hiyo umbwa, oh inakaa. Hiyo shetani, oh inakaa. Oh sijui. Yani, they cannot go a sentence without a verbal diarrhea. Yani, every time they open their mouth, there's that verbalness. So check your life, check whether the people who, when you call them, they want to talk to you or they don't want to talk to you, because some of these things are supposed to reflect a mirror on yourself and to look and see. The other one is spiritual abuse. Spiritual abuse. Somebody is always using God's word. Oh, the Bible says that you should respect your parents. And it also says that you parents do not drive your children to anger. God is very fair and is so just. So do not use spirituality to abuse your partner. Oh, you're always going to church. Hiyo kanisa yako hata imekusaidia na nini? My friend, if you don't want to go to church, let your partner go to church. Spiritual abuse is one of the abuses that rarely is talked about and rarely is highlighted, and this abuse is very common with parents. Ati mimi ni mama yako, nilikuzaa, I am your second God on this earth, so you must do what. If you need to go that far, then you need to check what you're asking this child for. I mean, if you really have to go that far to convince this child to do what you're asking them, maybe you need to sit back and call you and all yourselves for a meeting. Why do we need to get to this point that we need to threaten this child with God's word and spirituality? And Muslims suffer this a lot. They are brought up being told this is haram, this is, I don't even know. Yani, spiritual abuse, different types of abuse result to broken ties. When this child ataweza kujisimamisha, akitoka na hiyo murago, utakuwa unamwona kwa visa. So these are some of the things that we are talking about when we say broken ties, broken relationships. Moving forward, because we are moving on, a time inasonga kidogo, people who are entitled and people who get familiar. What do I mean? For example, you've met Nyokabi and you were introduced to me by someone, and you've met Nyokabi, and you know I'm a relationship coach, right? And you know I talk about relationships. You come into my life, immediately you start asking me questions about relationships. You are entitled to it. I give you my number, maybe you tell me, Nyokabi, I have something I'm going through, and I would like you to help me and talk to me. And immediately I give you that contact. Nikifika kwa nyumba, messages. This is something that I have personally gone through. It's a relationship breaker, because now I have met you, I've not interacted with you. People get this, they get contacts on social media. You get to meet a mheshimiwa somewhere, you get to meet a public figure somewhere, you get to meet an uncle or an auntie, somebody, you meet your daughter's friend or your son's friend, and because they're in a position of some kind or they're doing something with their lives, you feel that because you have known them, then you're entitled to them. You begin to call them rapidly, you begin to text them, you get familiar too fast. It is very important to understand in relationships that familiarity is a breaker, is a relationship breaker. When you get too familiar with your parents, when you get too familiar with your children, the likelihood of that relationship experiencing a lot of toxicity is very high. Always regard your friends in their own category, regard your connections, because your net worth is your connection, but at the same time, it is very important to regard people at where they are. Do not get familiar with family members, with colleagues, with your boss just because they are humble and they are down to earth. I have seen people who work with government officials and they get to a place, they become so familiar. Yani mpaka huyo mtu akiacha soda hapo, they take it and they drink it. Breakers is what we are talking about tonight. Moving on from that, we'll be talking about personality differences and personality traits. Now, these are two different things. Recently, I had an experience of someone who wrote an email to somebody and said, oh, you should understand that I'm this type of person. I'm this type of a personality. Therefore, you should deal with me the way I am, or respect me, or honor me, and do what, and all that, blah, 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 that can go on. Now, personality differences. Which are the major personalities? There are 4 types of personalities. I have talked about these things on this particular show, Awakening the Life Within You. So if you haven't seen this, please go to my YouTube channel, Nyokabi GK Kamau, and you'll be able to access this information. Discover your personality. There are 4 types of personality. There's melancholic, phlegmatics, sanguines, and cholerics. Now, when I talk about personality difference, I'm talking about these 4 categories. So if you're a sanguine, you're somebody who is playful and joyful and talkative, and have a melancholic. Melancholics are quiet and withdrawn and set apart. So you can see the conflict and the different types of personality. One wants to be quiet, the other wants to be loud. That's what I mean by personality differences. One wants to be organized, the other one is helter skelter, whatever goes. So those are the personality difference talking about. When we talk about personality traits, these are the behaviors that you have picked up along the way. Behaviors such as you pick up a behavior of always being late and you excuse it with kulikuwa na jam. Like you didn't know how long it will take you to move from point A to point B, and you could have done better with timekeeping. So these personality traits are the things that you pick up growing up. Kwenyu, you're drunkards. Kwenyu, you're smokers. Kwenyu, you're like this. So these are the traits that are different from personality from the personality temperaments. So what I talked about, the four are temperaments and these are traits. So those are two different things. Temperaments are you're born with. You're born as sanguine, you're born melancholic, you're born phlegmatic, you're born choleric. Personality traits are things you acquire with time as you move, as you grow from your background, your spirituality, who brought you up, what have you seen growing up. So personality traits are things you pick up as you go. If you are brought up by a melancholics hawapendi kelele and you're a noisy person, they force you or they coach you to be quiet. They constantly ask you to shh, settle down. They can't stand the noise you're making, right? So in the process, you learn how to be quiet. So it's a personality trait. You pick it as you go from school, from colleagues, from friends. You pick things that and they become a part of who you are. That's the difference. And these some of the things that leads to breakup. When it comes to personality differences, by the way, it's a temperament, personality temperaments. These are some of the things that cause relationships to lead to what we have seen in the past week of this person killing this person and this person resulting to this kind of a thing. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? This is what I mean. If you're married to a melancholic, melancholics are people who love details. They are people who naturally love control. So melancholics are the ones who cut across between narcissists and a normal person. It's like the thin line between love and hate. So if you are married to a melancholic, you have to be very careful with the information you give them. And most of the times you find that opposites attract. So a melancholic will get married to a sanguine. Sanguines don't know details. They don't know what date is. All they know is that that color is yellow. They don't know which bus they went from point A to point B with. They don't know what time it is. Yani in life, they are always high on themselves. They are always on a wave as they move. And now they are married to a melancholic, my friend. The person who wants to plan for the holiday in detail. Anataka kujua tutoka hapa na basi ya saa tatu. Hiyo basi itachukua 6 hours from point A to point B. When we get to Mombasa, we'll have this bus that will pick us and take us to the hotel. In between, we'll have a snack, we'll have tea, we'll have this. And you're married to a sanguine. Sanguine, all they know is that they are going to Mombasa. And they don't know which day, they don't know which date, they don't know what time, they don't know which bus. All they know is that they are going for a holiday. So when you're married to this kind of a person, you can experience a lot of turmoil, such conflict, constant conflict. If you're married to a phlegmatic, phlegmatics wanapeana karibu hata wakupeane hata wewe. Yani they just give and even they give you away. So if you are married to this kind of a person and you're choleric, you're somebody who wants order. Why are we giving you? You want to understand why are we giving you money? Why haven't you been working and making your own money? You're married to a phlegmatic. Alishapeana hiyo pesa while you're asking why are you giving. You result to that kind of conflict. This is what I'm talking about. Personality differences that result in broken ties. Your personality and the personality of a person you're in conflict with, they don't see hand to hand. So I am about to get into the solutions and see how you can navigate some of these things. And I say personality traits are things that you pick up as you go, as you grow, as you move from point A to point B. I have covered some of these topics very much on my YouTube channel. Conflict resolution, discover your personality, emotional intelligence, like the question I asked at the beginning of this show. Are you sure that you are in control of your emotions? Are you sure that you know what you're doing? Which emotion are you exhibiting? I have talked about the red flags in relationships so that you know which temperaments are you stuck with and which partner are you stuck with. Now, I want to get to this particular part of this conversation. I like that I've kept the 30 minutes. Oh, I can see in the comment section a lot is happening in the comment section. Allow me to go over to the comment section. I'm glancing like this because my laptop is this way. So I want to highlight some of your comments and just get to interact with you on a one-on-one basis. Let me know where you're watching me from and what you're learning. So we have Victorian Katha who is saying very important topic. She's also saying that good evening, beautiful Nyokabi. Thank you so much. I do feel very beautiful today. We have something else that she says, I try so much to be in control but fail at times. Yes, emotions can really get overwhelming. She also says that jealousy is a killer in relationships because very few people can handle jealousy with a lot of soberness. We have Jacqueline who is saying, thank you so much, Jacqueline, for joining the conversation and leaving your comments. And let's hear what you have to say. She's saying, watching nitakuwa told Juja. Atakuwa Juja. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're watching me from. We have OSAS from Victorian Katha. We have Nemo who is saying, watching from Karori. The show is lit. Thank you so much for joining me and thank you for letting me know where you're watching me from. Also, let me know what you're learning. We have Jacob who is saying, what a man can do, women can do it better, including Kichapo. I believe this is where we are talking about gender-based violence goes across both genders. Thank you so much, Jacob, but I do not believe what a man can do, a woman can do better. We just want an opportunity for equal opportunity, not really to be equal. We have Victoria who is saying, watching from Denmark. Oh, international. We all international. Thank you, darling, for watching. I can see she's saying, oh, wow, amazing. I wish I knew what really struck you there, your light bulb moment. I would really appreciate to know. We have someone else here, Kelvin, who is saying, following Kinley. Thank you so much, Pastor Ted, for joining the conversation. I truly appreciate that you're following. Let me know in the comment section what you're learning and what stands out for you. So many things to pick and learn and analyze, especially in the relationships and why relationships break. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, you have led us to the next conversation where we are talking about how do you deal with that breakup? We have understood why relationships break. We have understood why we separate. We choose to sever the ties. What are some of the things that contribute? It is our behavior that mostly contributes to relationships breakup. If you didn't catch that from all those things that we highlighted, it is the behavior, it is negative emotions that really contribute to broken relationships. It is the lack of control of self-discipline, the lack of self-discipline that really results, because there are better ways that we can handle this. At the beginning of this show, I also say that breakup or heartbreak is so painful that it can be equated or equivalented to the loss of a loved one. So this is a very powerful emotion. It is not a joke. It is an emotion that can get you to go on a spiral. It is an emotion that leads to depression. It is an emotion that results to committing heinous crimes at that particular point. And that is why we have crimes of passions. That is why we have every time a spouse loses their lives, the first person that is suspected is a family member. That is why you see children killing their parents because of overly controlling, overly needy, overly clingy parents who don't want to let their children breathe and have a life of their own. So these emotions, these things that contribute to the broken ties, how do we deal with them? And you're going to talk about the 4 types of rejection that result from broken relationships. Because if you break a tie, one person will be left feeling rejected. One person will be left feeling abandoned. One person will be left feeling betrayed because something was said, something was done that resulted to the relationship being severed. So it is very important that we talk about these types of rejection that you go through as a person. And the first type of rejection is ignoring. You're talking to this person and all of a sudden they are not talking to you. I'm the best person at this kind of breaking. I like breaking relationships this way because I find it to be more settled and we don't exchange and we don't get into a confrontation. I find it to be very peaceful because I am sanguine choleric. If I get into a confrontation with you, bro, hey, you see those people I talked about, those people who constantly criticize, constantly say things that to you that they'll be emotional abuse. So I prefer to ignore, walk away from that particular situation and ignore. And ignoring is the profound kind of rejection. Why? Because you don't know why this person isn't talking to you anymore. You don't know why they have chosen to ignore you. So you go through a lot in your mind. What happened? What did I do? Why can't they give me a chance? Why can't we work it out? So one of the ways that relationships are broken is through ignoring the unspoken rejection. So you're with this person and they are not saying a single thing to you. Women who are married pray a very this one, they know the silent treatment. They are expert. Sound your teacher with this kind of rejection. I want you to know that when you're treating your spouse with the silent treatment, what you're speaking to them is rejection. You're not disciplining them. You're not letting them know that you're angry. What you're hoping to communicate isn't what you're communicating. What you're communicating is rejection. The emotion that they get out of silence treatment is rejection. They don't get you're angry. They don't get you need time to process what happened. They don't get those different things. What they get is rejection. So ensure that when you're breaking a relationship, you're communicating the right thing. The other thing is the uncaring, the teaser, the person who all of a suddenly they don't care about you. And women, I think we are very good at these types of rejection because women are the ones who they no longer ask you where you are, what you are doing, why Carol is calling you. And this is a very dangerous point to be with a person, by the way. And we also show this kind of emotions to our parents. We stop talking to them, we stop visiting them, we stop bothering with them, we stop sending them shopping, we just sever the relationship. So these are the emotions that we are communicating. The other kind of rejection is we regret to inform you. You know, and I want to just take a moment and talk about this particular kind of rejection. Maybe you have been applying for a job for a long time, and every time you get is reject to inform you that you did not get this position. What you don't realize as a human being is that you feel rejected. You're left wondering, why didn't I get the position? Why did they choose another person over me? What was different? What was unique about them? These are things that go through your mind in the subconscious. So, this is why you see people who are seeking employment. The nicely worded rejection does not, it's like emotional abuse, does not come out like it doesn't. But if you get one too many of we regret to inform you, we regret to, unfortunately this relationship isn't working, it's not you, it's me. Because most of the times when relationships are breaking, the person who is breaking up with you will not tell you the entire truth as to why they're breaking up with you. Very few people will be honest and sit you down and tell you, hey, Nyokabi, I'm breaking up with you because you're too loud, I just can't handle your voice. Woman, you yani woo, I can't. They won't because they're afraid of hurting your feelings. They're afraid of coming out truth and being authentic to why they're breaking up with you, because sometimes the reason may not really feel like a reason to you and they don't want to explain. So mostly people will lie. And this is the nicely worded of rejection that comes from broken ties. The other one is the one that comes with a solution. I don't know whether you've ever dated somebody and they tell you, Akimi, I'm not the guy for you. But maybe my friend Mike can be the guy for you. I don't have you ever experienced that with someone? And if like now I've done that, I've told a friend of mine, maybe I'm not the perfect match to be your friend. I feel our personality differences are too the gap between is too major for us to work around it. So maybe you can try somebody with a different personality. I don't know that you've experienced that kind of a rejection where somebody gives you a solution to the problem and they tell you, oh, maybe you can try that one, you can try this one, you can try that one, instead of actually openly and honestly telling you what the issue is. So these emotions that come from that. So how do you deal with that kind of rejection? Because we started this show by talking about reasons why relationships break. Now, when these relationships break, they bring in a certain feeling to your life. They affect you some way, emotionally, mentally, physically. They affect you. It is good that you acknowledge that this person has chosen to separate with me and I feel this particular emotion. It could be rejection, it could be betrayal, it could be uh, You could feel any of these two emotions. I'm trying to remember other emotions that come from broken relationships. And you're sitting there and you're feeling the way you're feeling. And you're trying to fight for this relationship. So you're begging, you're pleading, you're reaching out to this person, you're sending them a million, you're SMS bombing them. You're a serial SMSer. You're SMSing them at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m. in the morning to let them know how they have hurt your feelings or how they could have done better. First of all, that's not one way of recovering the relationship. Is not the ideal way of reconciliating the relationship. What you're doing is more damage than where the relationship was. So you're there and you're trying to express the emotion that you're feeling. Oh, my life has ended. I don't see a life without you anymore. You need to know, acknowledge that, yes, I am hurt. Put a word to it. Acknowledgement requires the, like, now, for example, if I was to go somewhere to speak and I got in and I sat at the back and I'm the guest speaker, the acknowledgement isn't just to say our guest speaker has arrived. It is very important to say our guest speaker, Nyokabi, the relationship coach, has arrived. That is a complete acknowledgement. When it comes to emotions, when I say acknowledge, you need to know I feel hurt. This hurt is what? I feel broken. This broken is what? I feel rejected. This rejected is which rejection? And that's why I talked about the different rejections. I feel betrayed. This betrayal is what? Give it a name. And from that particular point, you can be able to process. So begging, pleading, chasing your partner, writing them all kinds of messages isn't going to help you get your partner back. First, deal with the emotion that you are feeling. The emotion, there's begging, there's pleading, there's spamming, there's apologizing, there's arguing your case and trying to convince your partner why they should come back or why the relationship shouldn't break, why your daughter should come to visit you. Instead of going through all those things, acknowledge the heart. Don't try to manipulate the situation. Don't try to hurry the situation. Now, the other thing is to view rejection as evidence. View that emotion as evidence of what happened. If you put a word to it, then you can be able to view it as evidence and it will help you go through the grieving process of a breakup. Because I said breakup or heartbreak is equated, or it's very close to the heartbreak that comes from the loss of a loved one. They are very tight, they are very close, the line is very thin. So it's good to know that a heartbreak needs time to process. Number three, treat yourself with compassion. When relationships break, or when ties are broken between parents and children, between children and parents, between partners, sexual partners and romantic partners, between business partners, between colleagues, when those ties are broken, most of the times we don't remember to treat ourselves with kindness. Sometimes we focus more when we are out here, we say, she did, he did, he did. But when we are in our private space, we wonder, what did I do? What role did I play? I don't know whether you've ever experienced that kind of an emotion, especially when it comes to dealing with your in laws. You have this in law who is constantly toxic. They are constantly doing things that offend you and hurt you. And when you defend yourself, you go back and you sit and you wonder, how did we get there? Would I get there with my own brother? Would I get there with my own sister? Always treat yourself with compassion and kindness. Appreciate who you are. And that's why it's very important to discover the kind of a person you are and learn how to love that person. The other thing is to refuse that situation to define you. One of the days I was watching a show by Oprah, and she was talking to women who have had very painful breakup experience. And there's this particular lady that stood out for me. This lady was narrating her story, and she was saying that when she was 8 months pregnant, her husband decided to walk out of that relationship and get together with her friend. And when she was almost going to have her baby or to receive her baby, the husband decided to move out and move in with a friend of this lady. And she was remembering or recounting what happened. And she remembers that the husband was coming from upstairs, was packing his things, and she was begging him. She was on her knees and she was holding his leg. And he went down the stairs, and she was 8 months pregnant. And she was begging him not to leave. And she was dragged from the first floor all the way to the door. And the man was trying to free his leg from her grip and telling her, "Let go, I'm leaving you, I'm leaving you, I'm leaving you." And she clung to this man and begged because she couldn't imagine starting a life of singlehood with she had not worked because the man had abused her emotionally and financially, so she didn't have anything, and she couldn't imagine this guy was leaving when she had given him everything. So she was dragged all the way to the portiers. She dragged him to the parking lot. He got into the car and he was kicking her off, and he threw her in the grass, and eventually the gentleman drove off. Her begging did not pay out. In fact, it lowered her dignity and it made her lose who she was in the process. Refuse the experience of a relationship breakup to define you. Do not look at the end of that relationship to be the end of who you are and where you're going. That is a chapter that is going to go behind you. Eventually, you will deal with those emotions. You will go through the process of mourning what has happened, and you will come out on the other side a better person. So don't allow, like now, for example, the clip that I was talking about that was on Facebook. This gentleman was asking this lady, "Una compare roho kwa simu, una compare roho kwa simu." You see, they are in two different places. This man is talking about the heartbreak that he's going through. The woman is talking about the phone that has been thrown in the water. Yani, they are having the same conversation, but their emotions are in two different places. None can understand the other. Why would you throw my phone in the water? Why did you break my heart? Not related. They are two separate issues, but because you have allowed the situation to define you, you begin to compare yourself to something as small as a phone. And you actually compare, and it becomes a reality for you. And that's why you saw this gentleman pushing the lady into the water, because he couldn't understand, he couldn't comprehend how this woman, that the phone was more important to her than the state of his heart and the emotion that he was feeling at that time. I'm sure right now, if he looks back at that clip, he wonders what was wrong with me. I could have just walked away from the situation. I didn't need to go that far. I didn't need to pick the phone and throw it in the water. I didn't need to break the phone, because it wasn't going to change anything really. This person had chosen to do what they had chosen to do, right? So it is very important and it's paramount not to allow the breakup to define you, especially breakups that happen between parents and children. Children always feel spiritually abused. They always feel captured. They always feel their life is not progressing because they broke up with their parents or they're not in good terms with their parents. Do not allow the broken ties to define you. Don't allow the divorce to define who you are. You are not the divorce. You are you outside of that marriage. So let me know in the comment section what is standing out for you and what you're learning. And I will be glad to highlight those comments there and we can talk about that. And finally, learn from that experience. We never learn from broken relationships. You'll find that you have a trade, you have a body trail of broken relationships. And if you look back sincerely and openly, you will discover that it's the same behavior. It's the same thing that resulted to you breaking up with that business partner, you breaking up with this colleague of yours, you breaking up with this particular person. It is very important to always learn from a situation. Analyze it. We talked about self assessment. Sit back and assess the situation. Try to think what happened, what went wrong, what did not happen, what could I have done better. Understand why the relationship has broken in the first place. Because if a relationship breaks and you don't understand what role you played, I always say it takes two to tango in a relationship. You cannot say Atinyokabi broke up with me because she's insane. She's not insane. There's something you're doing that played key role, a very key part in why the relationship has broken. There's a behavior, there's a personality trait, or there's a personality temperament that is playing a very key role into why the relationship isn't working. And this person is feeling, I can't be in this space. Because in order for a relationship to work, the two parties have to be okay with everything that's happening in the relationship. You have to be in tune and okay with it. You can live with it. If somebody is unable to live with a particular thing, then that's why the relationship does what? Parts ways. So it's very important to sit back and learn from it and improve your behavior. Now, understanding why the breakup happened, as I move very quickly because we are almost out of time. I can't believe we are almost out of time. Number one is to take a step back. I wish this couple that was fighting by that pool When the gentleman found what he found and his heart was broken, was shattered into pieces, and not downplaying the emotion, because I say the emotion is closely related to losing a loved one. I wish he had taken a step back and analyzed the situation. He had chosen to respond to the situation other than react to it, would have different results, because there are things that you can do without taking a step back that will result in the relationship going down the drain further than where it was. For instance, if we break up with you and you start writing me messages, oh, you are not even what you say you are, oh, you don't even look the way you say you look, you don't even behave the way you are, those messages will not draw me closer to you. They'll not end in us talking or resolving the conflict. What they will end in is confirming that I do need to get out of this relationship. So you need to take a step back and rethink, especially if you're the kind, you're a serial texter, you like to text people and let them know how your heart is broken and how badly you're feeling and how badly they are and how badly they treated you. It is important as a person to take a step back and analyze the story. Yani watch ni kama video una watch, ni kama movie unajiangalilia, and try to figure out what's going on over here. Number two, practice some self-care instead of focusing on what the other person is doing. Uko kwa social media unafuata Nyokabi uone what she's doing. Did she post a selfie? She went to Kilimanjaro with who and why? What did they eat? What were they doing? Instead of focusing on what that particular situation is happening, focus on yourself. Redirect the energy to yourself. It will help you, first of all, process the emotion, and secondly, it will grow you as a person. So start a routine, start a self-care routine, start reading 2 quotes a day, start writing a vlog that is beautiful, start doing something useful with yourself. Take a step back and take care of yourself. Number three, take some time to process the emotion. When we experience heartbreak, when we experience broken relationships and broken ties, we never, ever, ever take time to process the emotion. Process the emotion that comes from it. And I've mentioned the emotions that result from broken ties and broken relationships. Process it. Yani, sit down, go through the process. Be angry, be in denial, be in acceptance. Get to a place where you start saying, I was angry, but now I don't feel so angry. I'm getting to a place I'm feeling okay. Yeah, I'm not as angry as I was, but I'm kind of still angry, but I'm getting there. Process the emotion. Kindly process the emotion and take time. And I have said this a million and one times. Remember to be kind to yourself. Always be kind to yourself, especially with broken relationships. Be kind to yourself, especially when you're in the initiator of the breakup, because we always think that because you're the one who has been broken up with, you're the one who's going through the emotional turmoil. No. Even the initiator of the breakup goes through the emotional turmoil. They go through a period of confusion where they don't know whether it's the right thing that they have done, or the way they have done it, have they done it the right way? Was there a better way of doing it? Could they have hurt you less? So they go through the emotional turmoil as well, trying to figure out, do I really want to break this relationship? Or do I want to work this thing out with this person? So it is very, very important that you excuse the person and you excuse yourself and you be kind and compassionate to yourself. Allow yourself to mourn. When you allow yourself to mourn the experience, you can allow yourself by talking to friends and loved ones, trusted friends and loved ones. You can allow yourself to process the emotion by talking to a counselor, professional counselors, not spiritual leaders, and not professional counselors. They're spiritual leaders. Write on a diary the emotions that you're going through. Avoid posting the emotions on social media. Aki, oh my God, any people just go to Facebook and they tell us everything that is happening. Oh, he did. Sometimes it's good to send out the cry, like the Me Too movement, or the domestic violence against move hashtag domestic against domestic violence. Those are different things. What I'm talking about is you've broken up with your friend on blast on social media. Oh, you're a deadbeat dad. Do your deadbeats do what? My friend, process the emotions in a healthy way. Delete painful triggers. Woo, me, I'm good at this one. If the relationship breaks, I am blocking you. I am deleting you from my number. I don't want any triggers. I don't want a situation I'm sitting like something. I could just hug you very tightly in the neck. No, 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 no. delete all triggers. If it's photos on your phone, if it is photos on your YouTube chat, if it is photos everywhere, just delete and walk away from those triggers, because they will take you on that spiral. If you're following this person on social media, na uone ati ameenda hike na huku Kilimanjaro, na wewe uko hapo uko heartbroken, of course you will write them a message. You will ask them, you're even enjoying your life and I'm here broken. Delete the triggers. Now, the most important thing to do when it comes to broken ties, as I come to the end of this conversation, is the no contact rule. I love this rule. I had to learn it because I personally come from a very toxic background, very abusive background. For me, this is my primary rock upon which I stand most of the times when I find myself in broken relationships. The no contact rule. The no contact rules means no phone calls, no messages, no meetups, no nothing. You like totally, completely stop existing in the life of this person. You walk away and you give yourself a period of a minimum of 3 months. And if it is somebody who you want to rekindle the relationships and reconcile and reconciliate the relationship, then it is advisable after a very difficult time or a very difficult conflict or a very difficult argument that you don't give yourself less than 3 months of no contact, no communication, including a romantic partner you are dating. They left you in the altar. Leave no communication. Don't text them, don't call them, don't let them know how you're feeling, because sometimes you want to let them know how you're feeling. You think it's sweet to let them know, oh, you hurt me, oh, you broke my heart. No contact. Keep your distance from this person, and it will help you greatly deal with your emotions. They deal with their emotions, and by the time you come back to be on the same table, you are level headed. Now, why I have emphasized on this particular thing is because people who go through any type of abuse, either emotional, financial, physical, spiritual, if you keep contact with your abuser, you always end up in a circle or in a circuit. You always end up in the same place where you are. Organizations come try to pull you out, but you keep going back because this person can reach you, can communicate, can convince you. So before you allow somebody to negotiate their case or plead their case with you, because of the behavior that resulted in the broken relationship, it is very important that you apply this rule. Give yourself a minimum, if you're in domestic violence, if you're experiencing any of the abuses, to give yourself a minimum of 6 months. There's a soberness and there's a soberness and a soundness that comes from being away from this person, because they are no longer crowding your judgment. They are no longer convincing you stuff. They are no longer speaking behind your head. Now you have a clear vision of, do you want to rekindle this relationship? Do you want to revive this relationship, or do you want to completely sever this relationship? It is very important for you to take the no contact break. It helps with business partners. If you had joined account with somebody and you had a business together and this person wasn't faithful, they betrayed you in a particular area, they sent you a message that hurt you and broke your heart, or they did something that offended you, and now the relationship is broken, take a break from that relationship. Don't try to listen to their side. Don't try to listen to their case. Give yourself a minimum of 3 months where now you can objectively come in and deal with the emotions that are involved. So it even helps you to deal with those emotions. I want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for joining me tonight in this amazing conversation. Thank you so much for leaving your comments in the comment section. And I once again want to highlight that you check out my YouTube channel where I've talked about conflict resolution. I've talked about discovering your personalities, emotional intelligence, relationships, deal breakers, and relationship red flags. Some of the things that play very key role in broken ties. I have already covered these topics individually, one by one, on my YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments once you see them there, and let me know what you learned and what stood out for you. So without any further ado, allow me to say good night to each and every one of you. I hope I have highlighted every comment that has been there. I want to highlight one more from Victoria Nikada, the founder of Responding to Life and Not Reacting to It. Yes, respond to life, don't react to it. Is very important to respond to situations. Do not react. And these things We practice them. Practice, 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 practice. Practice makes perfect. Become self-aware, self-aware, self-aware. Discover your behaviors. Don't always look at the other person. Always reflect the mirror back to yourself by assessing yourself. This is also something else I've talked about on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. Self-assessment, how to do it, what to look out for, and how to improve the way you relate with people. We are all about building meaningful relationships and having authentic conversations. My name is Nyokabi GK Kamau, and I am your relationship coach, and I want to wish you an amazing night. Good night, everybody.